The world rewards noise. People speak too quickly, react too emotionally, explain too much, and reveal themselves too easily. But Seneca understood something most people never realize. Silence is power, not the silence of weakness, not the silence of fear, but the silence of control, because the person who controls their tongue controls their mind, and the person who controls their mind becomes dangerous in a world ruled by impulse. You do not need to announce your goals. You do not need to defend yourself to everyone. You do not need to win every argument. The strongest mind in the room is often the quietest one. Seneca once wrote that wise people speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they need to say something. Look around carefully. Most people cannot sit in silence anymore. The moment discomfort appears, they reach for noise, music, notifications, gossip, endless opinions, anything to avoid facing themselves, because silence forces you to confront your own thoughts. And that is terrifying for people who have never learned self-control. But silence reveals truth. When you stop speaking, you start observing. You notice how insecure people talk too much to prove themselves, how angry people expose themselves through emotional reactions, how weak minds constantly seek validation from strangers. Silence gives you vision. Most people destroy opportunities because they cannot stay calm. They reveal plans too early, react emotionally, speak out of anger, or try too hard to impress others. But silence creates mystery, and mystery creates respect. Think about the most powerful people you have ever met. They rarely speak excessively. They do not beg for attention. They do not explain themselves endlessly. Their calm presence alone commands respect. Because silence signals confidence. A lion does not need to announce it is a lion. Only insecure people feel the need to constantly prove their worth. This is why silence becomes a weapon in difficult moments. When someone insults you, silence unsettles them. When someone tries to provoke you, silence frustrates them. When someone expects emotional reactions, silence gives you control. Most people are slaves to emotion. They react instantly. They let anger control their mouth. And later, regret controls their mind. But Stoics understood something deeper. Every emotional reaction gives power away. The moment someone can control your emotions, they control you. This is why Seneca believed discipline begins with the tongue. Before mastering life, you must master reaction. And silence is often the first sign of mastery. There is a hidden strength in being underestimated. Quiet people are often dismissed, ignored, overlooked, but silence allows preparation. While others waste energy, speaking, you are learning, watching, improving, building. Silence protects growth. A seed grows underground in silence before it becomes a tree. The same is true for transformation. Most people announce goals before achieving anything. They seek applause before discipline, attention before results. And slowly, their words replace action. But real growth happens quietly. Nobody sees the lonely mornings, the sacrifices, the repetition, the self-doubt, the discipline. Success is often built in silence long before the world notices the noise. This is why silence is connected to inner peace. When your mind is calm, you no longer feel the need to constantly react. You stop arguing with everyone. You stop needing validation. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And suddenly, life becomes lighter, because not every battle deserves your energy. Seneca warned that people suffer more from imagination than reality, and much of this suffering comes from unnecessary noise. Silence clears the fog. It allows you to hear your own thoughts again. In silence, you discover who you really are beneath the performance. Many people fear being alone because silence exposes emptiness. But strong people learn to sit alone with their thoughts. That is where wisdom grows. That is where discipline grows. That is where self-awareness is born. The modern world trains people to fear stillness. Everything is designed to distract you, because a distracted mind is easier to control. But silence reconnects you to yourself. And once you truly know yourself, outside opinions lose power. You no longer panic when criticized. You no longer chase approval. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to everyone. Because your confidence becomes internal, and internal confidence is unshakable. This is why silence intimidates weak minds. People become uncomfortable when they cannot read you, when you do not overreact, when you remain calm under pressure. Because calmness is rare. Most people are chaotic internally, so they seek noise externally. But the Stoic learns something different. Peace is strength. The ability to remain silent when angry is strength. The ability to walk away from pointless conflict is strength. The ability to observe instead of reacting impulsively is strength. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, anyone can lose control, but very few people can remain composed in difficult moments. That is mastery, and perhaps the greatest secret of silence. It helps you hear life clearly. You begin noticing things others miss, patterns, intentions, truth, because while others are busy talking, you are understanding. And understanding is power. So the next time you feel the urge to react instantly, pause. The next time you want to explain yourself to everyone, pause. The next time anger rises inside you, remain still. Not because you are weak, but because you are learning control. And control is the foundation of freedom. In a noisy world, silence becomes rare, and rare things become valuable. So protect your peace, protect your energy, protect your mind, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Most people misunderstand silence. They think silence means passivity, weakness, fear. But there is a difference between being silent and having nothing to say. A mountain is silent, yet powerful. The ocean is silent from a distance, yet capable of destroying entire cities. True silence is not emptiness, it is contained power. Seneca understood this deeply. He lived in one of the loudest societies imaginable, a world obsessed with status, politics, ego, public approval. Men competed constantly for attention, for influence, for recognition. And yet Seneca repeatedly returned to the same lesson. A peaceful mind cannot exist in constant noise, because noise pulls your attention outward. Silence pulls your attention inward. And your life changes the moment you stop being controlled by external chaos. Think about how many people lose themselves trying to impress others. They buy things they cannot afford, speak words they do not mean, live lives they secretly hate, all because they fear silence, because silence forces honesty. When everything becomes quiet, excuses disappear. You can no longer hide behind distraction. You can no longer blame the world every second. Eventually, you meet yourself face to face. Your fears, your habits, your weaknesses, your wasted potential. This is why many people avoid stillness at all costs. But the Stoic walks directly into it. Because growth begins where distraction ends. The strongest people are not always the loudest. Often, they are simply the most disciplined internally. A calm mind sees clearly, and clarity is a superpower. When emotions control you, life becomes blurry. You make impulsive decisions, trust the wrong people, destroy opportunities, damage relationships. But silence creates space between emotion and action. That small pause changes everything. Someone insults you. Most people react instantly, but the disciplined person pauses. And inside that pause, freedom exists. Freedom from impulse, freedom from regret, freedom from emotional slavery. Seneca believed that anger punishes the angry person first. Look carefully at angry people. Their peace disappears instantly. Their judgment collapses. Their emotions consume them. Meanwhile, the calm person remains untouchable. This is why silence is connected to emotional power. Not every attack deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every misunderstanding deserves explanation. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you, no matter what you say. So why waste energy trying to convince them? Silence protects peace, and peace is priceless. There is another hidden power in silence. It exposes truth. Most people eventually reveal themselves if you simply stay quiet long enough. In conversations, people rush to fill empty space, and while trying to fill it, they reveal insecurities, intentions, weaknesses. The silent observer learns more than the loud speaker ever will. This is why wise people listen carefully before speaking. Listening is intelligence. Most people do not listen to understand. They listen to reply. But silence teaches patience, and patience changes outcomes. Think about how many mistakes in life happen because of impatience. Impulsive spending, emotional messages, toxic relationships, poor decisions made in temporary emotions. One moment of uncontrolled reaction can create years of regret. But silence slows the storm. It allows wisdom to enter before action. That is why self-control feels almost supernatural today, because modern life rewards speed. Fast opinions, fast reactions, fast outrage. But wisdom has always moved slowly. The Stoic does not rush emotionally. They observe first, because calm observation reveals reality more clearly than emotional reaction ever will. And perhaps this is why silence feels uncomfortable at first, because silence removes escape routes. You begin hearing thoughts you buried for years, regrets, loneliness, fear of failure, fear of not becoming who you hoped to be. But hidden inside that discomfort is transformation. Because you cannot heal what you refuse to face. Silence becomes a mirror, and mirrors do not lie. Many people spend their entire lives running from themselves, but eventually life forces everyone into silence. Failure, loss, heartbreak, loneliness. And in those moments, you discover what exists inside you when distractions disappear. Some people collapse, others awaken. The Stoics prepared for these moments intentionally. They practiced solitude, reflection, stillness, not because they hated life, but because they wanted mastery over themselves. And self-mastery is rare. Most people are controlled by appetite, but the disciplined mind becomes free. Free from needing constant validation, free from emotional dependence, free from the endless pressure to perform for the world. That freedom creates peace, and peace creates power, because a peaceful person cannot easily be manipulated. The world profits from your insecurity. It wants you distracted, comparing yourself constantly, feeling incomplete, but silence disconnects you from the noise of the crowd. And once you stop listening to the crowd, you start hearing your own direction. That is where purpose becomes clearer. So spend time alone sometimes. Walk without music occasionally. Sit quietly without reaching for your phone. Observe your thoughts instead of escaping them. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but eventually, silence becomes home. And once silence becomes comfortable, you stop fearing loneliness. You stop fearing judgment. You stop fearing yourself, because you finally realize something powerful. Peace was never outside you. It was buried beneath the noise all along. There is a moment in life when a person becomes tired of noise, tired of proving themselves, tired of chasing approval, tired of explaining their worth to people who never intended to understand them. And in that moment, silence becomes liberation. Seneca believed that much of human suffering comes from dependence on external things. External praise, external success, external validation. But anything external can be taken away. Money disappears, status fades, people change. If your peace depends on those things, your peace will always remain fragile. This is why silence matters. Because silence teaches you to build an inner world that does not collapse when the outer world becomes chaotic. Most people are emotionally controlled by circumstances. One bad comment ruins their day. One rejection destroys their confidence. One failure convinces them to quit. But the Stoic learns to become internally stable, and silence is where that stability is built. Imagine a lake during a storm. If the water is constantly disturbed, it cannot reflect anything clearly. The same is true for the human mind. A restless mind cannot see truth clearly. It cannot make wise decisions. It cannot recognize what truly matters. But when the mind becomes still, everything changes. You begin understanding how temporary emotions really are. Anger rises, then fades. Fear rises, then fades. Embarrassment rises, then fades. But people destroy their lives reacting to temporary feelings as if they were permanent truths. Silence teaches emotional patience. It teaches you not to obey every feeling, because feelings are weather, not identity. A powerful person is not someone who never feels emotion. A powerful person is someone who does not become a slave to emotion. And this is increasingly rare. Modern life trains people to react instantly. Nobody wants to wait anymore, but everything valuable in life requires patience, wisdom, discipline, trust, mastery, inner peace. None of these grow in noise. They grow slowly in silence. This is why many truly successful people disappear quietly while building their future. While others are posting every goal online, they are working. While others seek applause for small effort, they are improving in private because they understand something dangerous. Attention can become addiction, and addicted people lose focus. The Stoic does not need constant recognition to continue moving forward. They understand that real confidence is quiet. Insecure people announce everything. Confident people build silently. A tree does not make noise while growing. Yet one day, everyone sits beneath its shade. Silence also protects energy. Most arguments are useless. Most drama is meaningless. Most criticism changes nothing important. Yet people waste years emotionally exhausted from fighting battles that never mattered. The Stoic asks a different question. Does this deserve my peace? That question alone can change your life. Because peace is expensive. It costs ego. It costs pride. It costs the addiction to always being right. But once you value peace more than attention, life becomes simpler. You stop trying to win every argument. You stop reacting to every insult. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight. And slowly, your mind becomes lighter. This does not mean becoming emotionless. Stoicism was never about becoming cold. It was about becoming clear enough to separate what matters from what does not. Most things people worry about today will not matter in 5 years. Yet they sacrifice peace over temporary nonsense. Silence helps you remember what is truly important. Health, time, character, purpose, the people you love. Everything else is secondary. Seneca often reflected on mortality because he understood something profound. Life is short, too short for endless noise, too short for meaningless conflict, too short to spend your existence chasing approval from strangers. One day, all the opinions surrounding you today will disappear. The crowd will move on. The trends will fade. The noise will die. And eventually you will face yourself alone. So the real question becomes, who are you when everything becomes quiet? Can you sit alone peacefully? Can you exist without constant distraction? Can you remain calm when life becomes difficult? That is true strength, inner control. Because a person who controls themselves becomes impossible to manipulate. They cannot be baited easily, cannot be intimidated easily, cannot be emotionally owned by the world, and perhaps that is the deepest power of silence. It returns ownership of your mind back to you. Most people have surrendered their minds without realizing it. to social media, to trends, to public opinion, to fear, to comparison. Their emotions change depending on what the world tells them to feel. But silence interrupts that conditioning. In silence, you begin thinking independently again, and independent minds are dangerous to a noisy world. This is why solitude frightened many people throughout history, because solitude strips away illusion. No audience, no performance, no distractions, only truth, and truth transforms those willing to face it. So do not fear silence. Enter it willingly. Walk away from unnecessary noise sometimes. Turn off the endless stimulation. Sit with your thoughts. Reflect deeply. Observe quietly. Because within silence, you may finally hear the voice that noise has buried your entire life. Your own.